then you start doubting yourself, and then someone else brings up their goals, and then you doubt them, and then they start doubting themselves, and then everyone starts doubting each other, and then everyone stays safely inside of the bucket, ready to be cooked and ate by some nice family of 3.
For the rugged. Been a little too nice to y'all. Now I gotta up price for y'all. Snake eyes on dice for y'all. Shoulders on ice for y'all.
Hi, my name is Miguel. Welcome to my channel. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about crabs in a bucket. Now, if you don't know exactly what that is, I'll go ahead and just lay the story out for you. There's basically a story that goes something like a guy is sitting there, he's talking to a fisherman, or he's in a restaurant, and let's just go with the fisherman story. He's talking to his fisherman buddy, and he has, he was fishing for crabs that day, and he notices a bucket next to him with all the crabs. They're moving around, and he's just like so captivated by these crabs. And then he notices one of them starts like making its way to the top. It's trying to climb out of the bucket. So he would tap his fisherman friend, be like, "Hey man, you might want to like get your crabs, dude. Like one of them is trying to make an escape. It's straight prison break over here right now with these crabs." And then the fisherman just laughs it off, chuckles, and says, "It'll be fine. Just watch." The guy gets confused, but he says, "Okay." He seems pretty confident. So he continues to stare at this bucket full of crabs. And then right as that crab that was making its escape to freedom, it's just about to get over, all of the other crabs grab it by its legs and yank it back down inside of the bucket. Now, I'm not entirely sure whether or not this is actually how crabs work inside of a bucket or inside of a tank, whatever environment they are in. I've never actually witnessed this. But the story has been around for so long that I've got to assume that is a real thing that happens, and it is the perfect analogy for friends and family in general when you are on your way out of the bucket, whatever bucket that may be for you. Excuse me. Anyways, the first thing you'll notice as you get started with your self-development journey, your spiritual journey, your entrepreneurial journey, is that a lot of the people around you are not going to start resonating with you anymore, and they will even start taking little cheap shots here and there. And it's not that they're doing it consciously, they are just at a certain place where that is what they deem like you're starting to not act normal. You are changing, and when you change, you shine a spotlight on everything it is that they are. Keep in mind, people are not actually directly attacking you in that exact moment. They are more so focused on themselves at all times. Just keep that in mind, especially when you were dealing with the average person. Not only that, but when they probably try to step outside of their comfort zone and start doing something that they thought was even better, they probably got treated in that similar fashion, and then it just became this like perpetuated cycle across majority of society where everyone is doing this to each other and no one is exactly sure why. So it is always up to you to be able to ignore that. But the thing I wanted to talk about specifically in this video is potentially just, removing yourself from the crabs in general. The beauty about what we have as humans instead of, some shellfish, is that we have the capability to not be around the crabs inside of our lives anymore. But what tends to stop a lot of people from doing this is more than likely fear of hurting someone, but I have a pretty big feeling that the bigger reason why a lot of people would be afraid to do something like this, to remove the crabs from their life, is because they most likely have a fear of being lonely. Now, I'm not 100% sure whether or not that is in pretty much everyone's case, but I know I can say in my case, and a few of the people that I have talked to and just like heard them talk about this, not actually say it directly, but I'm pretty good at reading between the lines. If you ask any of my friends, the ones who know me well anyways, I have a very big thing about psychoanalyzing people to a very weird degree, to the point where I can read between a lot of the lines and see your facial expressions to the point where I know pretty spot on exactly what you're thinking and where you're coming from with a lot of stuff that you have going on, especially considering the fact that I'm a very emotional creature. I'm a Pisces, and I can be pretty empathic in that way. And what I've gotten from a lot of people and from myself is that the reason why a lot of people don't want to remove craps from their life is because they do not want to be lonely. But I would like to challenge you, and anyone who is afraid of moving the craps from their life, and say that you might want to do it anyways, because if that's something that you're afraid of, if you're afraid of being alone, the person that like you're the main person in your life at all times. You are your own extension of creation, and you are the person who you talk the most to, like that voice in your head. You are the one who talks to yourself the most. You are the one who matters the most inside of your world. You are always going to be the most important person. If you are incapable of knowing how to be happy in solitude, be happy alone, if you don't know how to be alone without being lonely, then I would highly urge you to make the jump and be alone for that reason. Not only that, but at least in my life, I noticed that once I removed myself from a lot of environments, once I started saying no to hanging out with a lot of people, and I used to be very people-pleasing to a very large degree. I used to have a very big problem with saying no to people, with saying like, hey, I don't want to do this with you guys, because I don't like making people feel any sort of bad way. It's not something that I personally like to do. I like for everyone to feel happy. I especially like to be the reason why people are happy. It makes me feel nice and bubbly inside. And when I had to switch that up and start saying no to people, I would literally get attacked by these people. They would say, what do you mean? Why? You don't mess with us no more? What's the deal? No freaking joke. Not only that, but as my frequency started changing, as I started becoming happier and getting more into self-development, I've said this before on my channel, but I remember after I read The Power of Now, I started figuring out how to like tap into my own inner happiness much more frequently. And I was talking to a friend. I was nice and happy and bubbly and like blissful, and I was trying to be in that space so that he can try and feel that too, and he can try and get some of that as well. And he looked me dead in my face and said, I don't know if I can be friends with you anymore, dude. You're way too happy. This is the environment that I was in. And because of that, I needed to remove myself from that environment because of the other people who didn't mind me getting happier and stuff like that. But they definitely didn't believe in a lot of the things that I was doing. It starts to, even if you can like consciously, like even if you are capable of saying, forget what they say, I'll continue to just do me, on a subconscious level, all of the doubts that they are pushing on you, even if they don't say it, they can look a certain way at you as you tell them any sort of goal that you have. And even if you aren't capable of noticing on a conscious level, oh, this person doubts me right now, on a subconscious level, you are able to still read that emotion. You are able to still read that thought that is going on inside of their brain. And that's going to start pushing off on you, and you are going to start doubting yourself, and you are going to think these thoughts are your own when in reality they are someone else's doubt projected onto you. And the only reason they doubt you is because they doubt themselves. Do you see where the cycle starts? And then you start doubting yourself, and then someone else brings up their goals, and then you doubt them, and then they start doubting themselves, and then everyone starts doubting each other, and then everyone stays safely inside of the bucket ready to be cooked and ate by some nice family of 3. This is why you want to just remove yourself from the crabs, even if it means you need to be alone for a certain extended period of time. Because once you remove yourself from these environments, once you remove yourself from these people, you are going to start to notice that you start believing in yourself more. You start becoming happier. You start becoming more confident. And what I noticed in my life was once I finally put my foot down to the last couple of friends that I was holding on to, once I finally said, you know what, guys, actually, I didn't tell these people. I kind of just stopped responding to all of their texts and all of their messages. There's obviously a lot more that went down in order for that to happen, because I didn't just like cut off communication like that from the start, but some stuff happened, and it required me to just completely remove myself from their presence, and entirely to the point where I no longer even responded or acknowledged them as a person anymore. I just removed myself. My cutoff game is pretty strong that way. So once I finally did that, they were the last people in my life who were in any sort of negative headspace. And right when I did that, my business, boom, jumped up. Like, product launched, got paid from the first time. I started working with my mentor, Brandon Carter. But like, aside from that, so like the business stuff did take off. Excuse me. But aside from that, I started to attract much better people into my life. It almost felt as though, and this is obviously coming from my subjective experience on what happened inside of my life, but it almost felt as though the second I removed the negative people in my life, it made room, because like I was already starting to become this like positive human being. And it's almost like the second I removed these people away, I made room for much more positive people to come into my life. And now the people who are in my life are extremely grateful what's going on in their life. They're on their own positive paths. All of us are constantly motivating each other, telling each other to keep going, sharing some words of encouragement, giving each other's ideas. No one lets anyone slack off. If anyone's ever doubting themselves, you get a very quick, bro, stop being a bitch, like you got this. Like it's very brotherly and lovely and amazing. And I do not see that happening had I still been hanging out with the crabs. You gotta stop hanging out with crabs and start hanging out with a bunch of eagles, because eagles soar. So I'll go ahead and leave it at that. If you got value out of this video, definitely hit subscribe. You are also welcome to donate to the Cash App link inside of the description of this video. You can donate $1, $5, $20, whatever feels right to you, whatever you feel equates the amount of value that you're getting from this video. I'm grateful for literally anything. And definitely like this video. Comment anything below that you would want me to elaborate on, or thoughts that you have about this topic. Maybe some scenario that you went through that was similar to this. And check out some of the other videos on this channel. Until next time, peace.